On today's episode of the Thermostat with Jason Barger, I'm joined by NFL legend and now analyst with Amazon's Thursday night football crew, Andrew Whitworth, a.k.a. Big Whit. And we're talking about not only his experience around teams and cultures throughout his career, but what are the standards that we set? What are the culture that we're trying to create together? What does accountability really mean and look like? And how do we show up and give attention to the people around us? I hope you will tune in, and I hope you'll enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everybody, Jason Barger here, and welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. And we are hanging out, and thanks to everybody who's been here, all the OGs that have been part of this podcast from the very beginning. We just hit 300 episodes the other day, which is mind-blowing to me that we've already had 300 episodes. So many great, cool guests that have joined me, and excited to invite my guest in for today. But once again, everybody that's been here, anybody new to the podcast, thanks for coming in. My commitment to listeners from the very beginning of this thing is I want this to be a place for you to be able to step back in your own life, to hopefully have some good oxygen breathed into you, and then to think about the temperature that you're trying to set in your life and in your work. And every time we come together to do that, hopefully it gives us something to think about and take that next step. And so thanks to everybody who's been a part of the journey at this point. Of course, hopefully you've subscribed, you're rating the podcast 5 stars, you're doing all the stuff that everybody keeps telling me I got to do. Leave an authentic review, share it with people in your network, all of those things. That's how messages get amplified in a very noisy world. So thanks to everybody that takes a moment to do that. I am thrilled to have my guest join me here in just a second into the chat. Andrew Whitworth, a.k.a. Big Whit, is our guest today. And after an illustrious football career as an LSU Tiger, Whit played 16 seasons in the National Football League, 11 with the Cincinnati Bengals, Houday, and 5 with the Los Angeles Rams, where he became a Super Bowl champion. He was selected to 4 Pro Bowls and selected first-team All-Pro twice. Known for his ability to play 16 seasons at such a high level, Big Whit retired as the oldest offensive tackle in NFL history and oldest lineman to win a Super Bowl. More importantly to me, and I think to our listeners, even than that great stuff, within locker rooms, Big Whit was known as a great teammate, and off the field, his life guided by his faith, family, and many philanthropic efforts. In 2021, he was named the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year for all his good works. After retiring in 2022, he joined Amazon's Thursday night football crew as an analyst. As often happens in so many cool ways, and I'm so blessed when people just say, hey, there's somebody you got to know. Years ago, a mutual friend of ours, shout out to my good buddy, great buddy, DK, David Knuth out there, who said, hey, you guys just need to know each other. And ever since then, we've had exchanged some calls and messages and being connected together. And I'll say this about Whit. Every time I have had a conversation, been graced with the fortune to have a conversation with Big Whit, I've always appreciated his passion, his honesty. He's funny, his humor, but also his curiosity around developing people and leaders and cultures. And so super excited to have Big Whit into the pod today. Big Whit, thanks for joining us.
Jason, I appreciate it, brother. I'm excited too, man. I've really cherished the couple times we've gotten to catch up and over the years, just keeping in touch. So it's been an honor, man, and I'm super happy to be here today. Have a cool conversation.
Well, it's been awesome, and I appreciate it and look forward to future chances where we get to have those calls together. I know one of the things I've appreciated is, we got deep into some stuff really quickly in some of our first phone calls and things. And I've always appreciated that about you, again, of just really getting in and being real with each other. So glad to have you on the pod today. For my listeners out there, tell us, something about Big Whit that we wouldn't know. Give me something that's outside of that wonderful bio that I just read. What's something that we wouldn't know about you?
I mean, probably that's the least important part of everything I love to do, in the sense of, I got 4 wonderful kids, a beautiful wife who is amazing. I got 5 animals in my household that my kids will remind me of every day when I forget to list them. And a lot of great friends and family, but, more importantly than anything else, I think when people list the accolades, the achievements, all those things, I think in my mind, I always go back to 2018, lowest moment in the sense of your best and your worst moment. 2018, lose the Super Bowl to the New England Patriots. And my probably most famous moment as an athlete was actually a presser after the game that I, reacted a little emotionally to a question. And the question was, Jason, I was 38. They thought I was done. My contract was ending as a Ram. I was already one of the oldest left tackles to ever play the game. And a reporter just kind of, in a snidey way asked, where do we go from here? Like, what do you do with your life from here? You just lost the Super Bowl. You're probably never playing another one again. And I said back, you got to be careful, Jason, with these media folks. At the end of the day, we're all going to die. Well, the beautiful statement I made after that, nobody got to pay attention to, because the only thing that made the headlines was, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. Andrew Whitworth's reaction to Super Bowl loss. But what I actually said, and the reason I'm bringing this all together, was, at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And I don't care if I'm Tom Brady and I've won 7 Super Bowls or been to 20 Pro Bowls. The most important thing to me in life will not be a championship ring. It will be if Sarah Elise Whitworth, Andrew James Whitworth Jr., Michael Lee Whitworth, Catherine K. Whitworth learn to love, appreciate people for who they are and not where they come from. Skin color doesn't matter. Geographic location doesn't matter. Their level of life and what they've made or not made doesn't matter. They learn to love people because they love them. And they learn to treat people the way they'd love to be treated. And if they live a life led that way, then I'll be the happiest dude in the world. And I'm still working every single day to improve myself, our family, and my kids. And so to me, where do we go from here? Man, we got a long freaking way to go, because it's just about that, a daily process of pouring love and appreciation into each other, and see where this crazy thing we call life, our journey, goes. So to me, that's always been the priority, is who I am every day, and who I am to my family, and also the impact I can have on my family and the people around me in a positive way.
This is exactly why you and I were connected, and why.
And now your listeners know why we know each other.
I know that there it is, buddy. Because man, and not only is this true for the world that we're living in now more than ever, but to be able to, what I'm hearing, you and I love to talk about this kind of leadership stuff and culture and how do we show up in a particular moment. But you think about the world right now and all those things that you just said in a very divisive, divided, angry world. Yep. You're talking about setting a temperature of, if I heard this correctly, the thermostat for you in your life is, how do I show up as a loving presence to all your family members, and a loving presence to the people that you interact with every single day and come across your path. And outside of where they're from and what they look like and what their background is, to try to be a presence in the world that sets a different temperature for people. That's what I just heard on the Thermostat podcast.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, I look at it like, Jason, I say this all the time. I had this moment during that actual same season, which is crazy. In 2018 is when the big fires were out here in LA the first time, not these that we just had. And we also had a shooting that had happened just outside in a sports bar in our local area. And it was a tragic deal. And obviously, as somebody had just come to the Los Angeles Rams, a captain of the team, there was a moment for me to stand up in front of the guys and say something. And one of the things I shared with the guys, amongst a bunch of other thoughts, was like, sometimes we overthink it. And like, the reality is, maybe the way to serve in this situation, you feel called to do something, is donating money. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your energy. Maybe it's going and sitting beside somebody at the hospital and just like being there. Like, maybe you don't have to say a word. Maybe you just show up. But my point was, don't overthink it. Don't think of like, man, what's the perfect thing I can do? Just just go. And like, if you feel led, be a part of it. And so the reason I say that, to your point about meeting people with love and appreciation, is don't overdo it. It doesn't mean that every single day I'm a flower and just joy to be around. It means that, like, man, maybe it looks like at a certain place I'm going to get some food or a coffee, and I just feel maybe this person just needs they need a little love. They need a little appreciation. They need to be led, or maybe I don't even feel it, but I just say, when I walk in here, I'm going to make sure I give this lady working the cash register or the person who made my coffee just an extra little, like, a boost to who they are, man. Like, hey, what you're wearing, you look great today. Or, hey, here's an extra $20. I had it in my truck, and you know what? I want to buy you lunch today, or maybe I'll walk in a place and sometimes see the kitchen staff, and say, hey, I want to buy the whole kitchen staff lunch. My point is not that's just a small example, but it's just an example of, maybe it's that. Maybe it's, man, I see somebody struggling and just ask them how their day's going. Maybe it's like serving of my time actually out in the community. Maybe it's being there for some of my kids' friends. Maybe it's helping out a couple that I know that, man, they just need a little love or appreciation. My point is that it can look a million different ways, but are you actually proactively every day engaging in this philosophy of, man, I kind of want to be a positive light to people. I don't want to be a negative, because I think we can all look back, all your listeners, yourself, everybody. We can think of those people that were like, man, every single time that dude walks in the room or she walks in the room, I don't know what it is. The whole room's just happy, or they just energy to them. They just seem more appreciative than anybody else the moment they walk in a room. Like, we all know those people. And it's like, man, I want to do my best, even if that's not me, to some people, to be some example of that, or some version of that I can be, to where people see me when I walk in a room and they're like, man, I just want that dude to be in the room with me, right? I just want them to be in rooms that I'm in. And I try my best to attack each day that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's thermostat cultures in a nutshell. That's when you come into the room, and you even use the word, that proactive, intentional. I want to set a temperature in here that hopefully other people feel. And sometimes I got to raise the temperature, and other times, maybe I got to chill out a little bit. Yeah.
Hey, I might not be the one that gets to control the thermostat, right? It might be freezing cold in that room, but you better believe I'm coming with blankets. You know what I mean? And so that's what it is. And it may be hot as crap in there, but you better believe I'm bringing cups of ice. Like, that's my deal, is like, hey, listen, sometimes you don't have control of the scenarios. And sometimes in life, the world is what it is, and I don't get to walk in and choose. But what I can do is say, you better believe I'm going to be on the side of, hey, whatever this thing's at, I'm coming in to try and help be on the right side of it, to get people back to where they want to be in that comfortable temperature. And so I think, to me, that's what it's about. Are you somebody who wants to, I think Sean McVay has coined this all the time, like, he loves having coaches or people in his building that want to bring him solutions, not problems. Like, I'm not here to tell you there's an issue with the temperature. I'm here to say, hey, I'm going to come in here and we're going to fix the temperature in this room.
That's right.
By my intentions.
Yeah, which is exactly in my book, Thermostat Cultures. So the proactive thinking is that assessment of what is the temperature, and then being able to say, what are we going to do about it? What role do I play as an ambassador for the culture that we're trying to create? That I play a role, and we all play a role in setting the proactive temperature that we want. So we got to have language that helps drive behavior, because if we can't describe what it is that we want, then we can't be surprised when it doesn't exist. What you were just describing, by the way, which I thought was beautiful, is that maybe there's somebody over there that needs something. Maybe I don't even need to say something, but I just need to be present. In the first book that I wrote, called Step Back from the Baggage Claim, it's literally about, being in airports and watching that crowded baggage claim, right? And looking at what might be needed in this moment. And I talk about this idea of the ministry of availability, which is exactly what you were just describing, that when you see somebody, what is it that maybe they just need your presence? Maybe they just need a word, or maybe they need, hey, we got to bring some blankets, or we got to bring some ice. We got to change the temperature in the room. But that presence and the desire to be available for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I think it's so cool, because I think people that know me well know, you might see me in a room and as my wife has coined it, Mr. Sparkle, like I'm bouncing around, loving on everybody, super happy. And then there's times that people who are probably really close to me, I'm the exact opposite. I'm completely shut down and chill and relaxed. And you're almost like, dude, he's eerily quiet. And for me, like, that's when, I love you and I'm so comfortable, because sometimes for me, it's like, man, I just want to all be present with each other. Like, I just want to sit in this room. I want to soak up everything you have to say and listen to you, all those type things, and kind of give you the floor. And also, you may think, oh man, he's quiet or something, but it's not that. It's that I just want to be in the room and present sometimes, because I think sometimes, even if you don't think you can be at your best, just being present for people is a massive thing.
It's an enormous gift that we give to people too, of just listening and just being with somebody. And I echo what you're saying. Like, the best relationships that we have are the people that we can just sit in the room together.
Yep.
And just be there. This word, the word culture, of course, gets thrown around everywhere, and certainly in the locker rooms and the places that you're in and out of all the time. Everybody talks about, we got to have a culture. I'm in and out of all kinds of different companies and organizations all the time. If you pull up any article in the world right now about a business or an organization, they're going to say you better have a great culture. But yet what I find is not a lot of places do a great job of defining what does culture mean. And as I talk about in thermostat cultures, it's dynamic, which means it's always changing. So if you and I have a great culture of our relationship, it doesn't mean it's fixed. It means we got to keep working on it, or else it's not going to just magically stay the same. And it's shaped by the way we think, act, and interact. So shaped by, first, how do we think about not just what we're here to do, but how we do it together? And then from that thinking, do our actions, are they congruent with that? Do they back it up with action and behavior? And then do all of our interactions aligning with a group of people to do something? Are we all kind of pulling in the same direction? Are we all setting a temperature that is consistent? I'm wondering, what do you see in and out of locker rooms right now? Places that one, does that resonate with what you see across locker rooms in your history playing, but also what you're seeing now? Good examples of places where you're like, man, they've got a clarity around the kind of culture they're trying to set. Again, not just what they do. They don't just play football. Like, this is how we approach the work together. Are there good examples that come to your mind?
There is. And I think it's interesting because, to me, unfortunately in sports, a lot of the times we associate culture with winning, in the sense that any place that's winning all of a sudden has great culture, and I think sometimes those things can get really confused between having good times and actually having the establishment of a culture that's dynamic and it's ever growing, and it's always changing and molding to what it needs to be. To me, that's actually not really seen in the win and loss column. It's seen in really how they handle adversity and how they handle times when they're challenged. And it's seen more in who they are in those moments that we don't know about. And so I think it's funny. I think that, we have a lot of these, I call them activator, powerful words people like to use, whether it be culture, whether it be intentional or authenticity. And those are all things I adamantly believe in. But I would love them to be descriptions of who somebody observes I am, or my football team is, or something I'm associated with, not things that you would say that on a daily basis I would be saying, because I think those words are oversaid, underdone, and used. And that is the reality to me, because, culture, to me, like when I think of good teams, when I was with the Rams and the culture of that building and really the atmosphere Sean McVay creates, it's one of the rarest places I've been around in that sense, from a positive energy and a desire for everybody to want to be at their best for each other, like a self-belief and like, man, I don't want to let anybody in this building down because we have such a special thing going. When I was there, it really felt that way a lot. And there were obviously times when you're dealing with a sport like that, that's an absolute roller coaster, that gets tested constantly. And then I think of teams I watch today, that just seem to stand the test of time, because I always say the truest measurement of performance is consistency over time. I mean, you look at these coaches that are able to really to really go on and go through everything they go through. They contain this building where people, I'm not talking about wins and losses. I'm talking about where the guys appreciate the opportunity to play for that coach. They appreciate the opportunity to be in that building. I look at the Baltimore Ravens and John Harbaugh. I look at what he's been able to do over over time. Look at Jim Harbaugh, his brother. I mean, it seems like everywhere he goes, guys love being a part of that. Pete Carroll, I mean, a guy who just seems to have this massive impact on guys and their belief in themselves. There's numerous of those examples, but to me, it's really, I look for the places that it's not success related, like they didn't have success and all of a sudden we're talking about their culture. I like to hear about their culture before. And I look right now, like I think Seattle Seahawks is an interesting one out there in the NFL. I think that adding a guy like Cooper Kupp to Mike Macdonald's team, and I know the influence he has on a building of just always searching for the best possible way to do something, and some of the special guys they have in there, and Sam Darnold and how he's wired, and then you look on the defensive side, how well they've started this year. I just think you can see there's some buy-in, there's some belief, because I always say this about culture, Jason, and what's cool about it is like we obviously know the things that we would immediately say when we're talking about our performance-based business. Like I don't care what we're talking about. It could be football, it could be life, it could be business. But if we're performance-based, right, in the sense that we're all working for a common goal, there's some things that we all understand about culture. We got a similar belief system. We got a similar way we do all our things. We got a similar way we compete. We got a similar way we handle adversity. We communicate in a similar way. Like all those things have to be really good. One of the things I love the most and I really look for in an office building, when I walk in it, when I walk in a restaurant, when I walk in any kind of place that's about service, or when I walk in a team building, I want to see how a culture acknowledges each other. And to me, that is one of the ones that I just know it is powerful. And it is, man, this place will be okay, because I can tell that there's an appreciation of not just, hey, man, we share these beliefs, but that you're in this with me and that we're in this thing together regardless. And I always say this, you could relate that to a marriage. You could relate that to a adult child relationship, like as a father and a son and a mother and a daughter, anywhere in a family relationship. You can relate that to being the CEO and people who work for you. You can put it all across the board, but how they acknowledge each other tells me a whole lot about them. And so I said this, people ask me, you're working for Amazon on Thursday Night Football, and you guys have this dynamic when you watch. It's just like you can tell y'all actually care about each other and you know each other and you spend time with each other. Like it just comes off on the TV screen. And I said, the first time I realized how special we were, our second year, we go to Vegas for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's in Vegas. We decide, hey, we don't have the Super Bowl. We're all going to meet up there. We go to this we decide to rent some restaurant off the strip and just kind of invite anybody from our whole circle of Amazon Thursday Night Football that's in town, come. And we're sitting in this room, and as we're sitting in the restaurant, I'm sitting there. I'd already been in. My wife and I were sitting down, and every single person that walked in the room, I don't care if it was Ryan Fitzpatrick or Carissa Thompson, or it was somebody working behind the radio, behind the screen that you would never know exist. It could be our producers. It could be our guys work doing research. You name it. If Rosie's coming in, if Spoon's coming in, if Mariano's coming in, if Jared's coming in, whoever. It didn't matter. Every person stood up and just an elation of energy, like Jared, every single person. And you're just like, wow. It's like Betsy. Like, it's like every person got this, man, you just walked out the tunnel for the Super Bowl. And I realized like, wow, dude, what a freaking cool culture we have that like everyone will put their fork down, sit up, like gives their energy to this person as they walk in. And it doesn't matter what your job title is. And I thought to me, that really told me, man, this thing's for real. Like we have a real group and it's important we harness this thing. And that's what I mean by acknowledgement. You think of how you treat your wife every time you see her in the sense of like, do you acknowledge her when she walks in the house? Is there like an acknowledgement, or is it just, we're going to walk by each other quietly? I'm not saying that doesn't mean you don't have a good marriage. What I'm saying is if you want to bring energy to it and you want to improve it, you want to do those things, have a culture where how we acknowledge each other when my kids walk in the door, when they come in the room, all those type things. That matters. And it matters because it makes people feel how important they are to you. And if you can live in a work environment, a home environment where you feel important to the people you're with, you are naturally going to give more of yourself to those people, because we all want to be appreciated. We all want to be loved, and we all want to feel that we're special to somebody else. So if you want to positively infect your environment, man, acknowledge people and what acknowledge what they mean to you and why they're important to you, and give them that love. And I promise you, you will see a difference in how they perform and a difference in how they feel and carry themselves around you.
Dude, this is awesome. So my listeners are going to they're going to connect a lot of these dots, but I talk a lot about where you look is where you go.
Yeah.
Where you look, your body will follow. And so we talk a lot about with teams and organizations, companies, marriages, friendships, with my kids, what I give my eyes to, what I give my focus to, what I give my energy, and I would say my hearts to, my body will follow. And so where we look is where we go. And so what I'm hearing you say is when somebody walks in the room, what is it that we're going to give our focus and our attention to? And Plato once said, what is honored will be cultivated. Mm-hmm. What is honored will be cultivated. And so what are we going to choose to honor? And what I hear you saying is on this team, a gathering, and no matter what the role of the team is, that when somebody walks in, we're going to honor, acknowledging them, appreciating them, and letting them feel like we're glad they're in the room. And what I would say back to your comment earlier about culture, it's not about wins and losses, and it's not about, okay, whoever won, then they must have a great culture. I would say the culture is, as you said, comes earlier, and the best cultures are the ones that, not surprisingly, they end up then they produce better results. Doesn't mean they're always going to win. Doesn't mean they're going to be the one, but the culture of my marriage impacts the outcome of our performance and how we show up together, how we think about what it means. Do our actions and our attention, do they back that up? Is it congruent? And then in every little interaction, again, doesn't mean it's perfect, but is it clear that we're trying to create and set a temperature together? Yeah. And every time we do, the performance goes up.
There's no doubt. And that's why I say, like, those words, culture, authenticity, intentional, are overused. They're underdone, because it's really like, man, are you authentic? Well, let me tell you what authentic is. Authentic isn't like what you're willing to share. It is, hey, I'm going to be myself and I'm going to convey how I actually feel and who I am every day. And I'm working on that. And I'm honest to be like, hey, I'm messing up in some scenarios, but I'm never going to not just be who I am all the time. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with, I'm going to fail, but I'm willing to be vulnerable enough to let you see the real me. And then that develops this trust level that's so powerful, because people are going to be like, man, it's not about whether I'm perfect. It's about, man, what I can honestly, love about this person. And I think you look in all kinds of circles, it's the truth. You can not like somebody, but you have this level of like trust or kind of understanding of somebody if they're just who they are all the time. Like, it doesn't matter. And you could love them and love everything about them. And you can be like, man, it hurts me when they're not themselves. And so that, like, all those things, when you use those words, it's about, man, is it actually like a daily commitment to do it? Because I say this all the time to kids when I give a chance to speak to them, to high school teams, college, even in the NFL, when I got to talk to teams, it's like, man, don't talk to me about whether you were perfect yesterday. Talk to me about whether, even when you fail tomorrow morning, you're willing to clean off the checkerboard and start all over and just play the game again. Like I always say, just reset the pieces and let's go back after it again. If you're asking me about a diet, I'm going to tell you the same exact thing. I don't care if you fail. Just do it again tomorrow. Like, go after it with the same ambition, the same goal, the same passion, the same drive tomorrow, and try it again. It's about being willing to just keep trying it again. Culture, any of those things. Just try it again. It's going to mess up. It's going to fail. Somebody's going to come in and it's going to mess up the culture. Somebody's going to make a mistake. It's going to mess up the culture. You're going to have a moment. Man, I failed us. The culture. But are you willing to pour all the good stuff back in, water it again, seed it again, try it again? That is how you sustain these things. That is what makes a place special. I'm not looking for, oh man, this culture failed. One guy spoke out against the group. Heck no. I'm looking for the next day, did that leadership pour back in on whatever it is they could have done better and say, hey, we're going to go right back after this again to try and build this thing to what we want it to be. Because that's the reality, is it's that commitment that makes places really special.
No doubt. No doubt. And it comes back to, again, what are we going to give our eyes to, and being able to then language driving the behavior that we want. So what is it we're aiming for? It doesn't mean that we're going to be perfect. But if we can't describe it, Then the daily practice is calibrating that thermostat to say, okay, well, what are we going to do now if we're clear on this direction we're going to go? You and I were texting back and forth about a recent episode that I did where I talked about the kind of cultural mantra in some buildings around sports is this kind of saying of all gas, no brakes. And on that episode, I was talking about the fact that not that idea isn't an interesting idea, all gas, no brakes, but really when you think about it from a cultural perspective, eventually the language sounds good, but when you start to break down what does it look like in action behavior, there's incongruence of the messages. And so it's an example of a team or an organization that has this language that they're trying to promote, and yet it doesn't work that way. I would argue the game of football, you can't even play that all gas, no brakes, because you literally have you have breaks between every play. So you literally can't play it all gas, no brakes. But you also have to make adjustments. And you have to actually hit the brakes. And as you and I would talk about is, try to approach your marriage with all gas, no brakes, and see how that goes. Try to approach parenting. It just doesn't work that way. So the language we use to describe what we're actually trying to create matters, because it helps us then have clarity around, well, how is it that we're going to show up when things don't go well? All of a sudden, all gas, no brakes doesn't necessarily serve us. There's something else. How is it we're going to respond to one another? You had mentioned Pete Carroll and other folks, around. I'm interested also in, we have different generations of players right now. And so I'm wondering, I don't know if you saw, there's a clip going around on the internet of Pete Carroll talking to his team, and he does I thought, an amazing job of going through and talking about different styles of leadership.
Yep.
That from different coaches in different eras. And he was talking about some of this is my language, but not confusing being successful with being a compelling leader. And he was giving some different styles. I'm wondering, how do you describe today's athlete, today's younger generation? What are the characteristics of leadership you think that are compelling to them, that are really kind of connecting with people? But before we dive into that topic, let's take a break. Let's pause for a second, and we'll be right back. Hey, everyone. I want to take a quick minute just to remind you about one of my favorite days of the year that is coming up on Friday, November 7th, 2025, for Thermostat Cultures Live. This is a powerful day of development that I host, and an opportunity for us all to step back, take a deep breath, and calibrate our thermostats for the road ahead in our own leadership roles, our lives, and certainly with the cultures that we are creating. This year, it's a hybrid event, and there are limited seats available for the in-person VIP experience in Columbus, Ohio. That's right, it's a really cool in-person VIP experience in Columbus, Ohio, as well as there are online virtual seats available for those who want to engage from a remote location. As always, I'll be joined by amazing thought leaders from around the globe, and it'll be a day you won't want to miss. Friday, November 7th, 2025. So visit thermostatcultureslive.com, thermostatcultureslive.com to learn more and to reserve your seat or seats for your entire team. I'm wondering, how do you describe today's athlete, today's younger generation? What are the characteristics of leadership you think that are compelling to them, that are really kind of connecting with people?
I think it's interesting. It's an like anything else, it's an ever growing and changing thing. And I, it's really cool. The best example of that I can give, of really me trying to understand that myself, is getting out at the age of 40 of the NFL and starting at, somewhere in my early 20s. It changed a whole lot throughout those 16 years. I could tell you that, as like the style of guys and what was important, the coaching philosophies and all of those things. But what I think is really unique with the young people of today and the athletes we have coming up is, last summer I got asked to go to Cannes for the Lions Festival in France. It's a marketing festival where they have a lot of athletes and different people come speak on different things. And one of the things I was going to get a chance to do was speak on a panel with some different leaders in different industries and own businesses and different things. And we were going to have a lot of talk about, just sports and cultures and dynamics and those kind of things. And I actually had my daughter, my at that time she was 13, came to me and said, Dad, I think I'm old enough. Like I'd love to have Snapchat. And I've always been somebody that believed it's just put it off one more year. And that's what you do. You just fight off every request they have. And every year you can fight it off longer. It's a win. And so I have this, 13 hours worth of flying to do. And I guess, if you've listened to this long enough, you probably know I don't do well with just sitting with stubbornness. And so I'm curious and I want to know, why do I think that? So I decide that I'm going to download a couple, books on this newer generations and really dynamics with youth today. And I start studying and just like, hey, I want to understand, when I tell Sarah no on something like this, what does she hear? What is the dynamic that she's getting from this? And I end up learning through all that one of the coolest things that stuck out to me amongst all the things was this generation is the first generation that doesn't need the older generation. And the reason I say that is that like when we grew up, Jason, like if you wanted to learn how to fish, somebody in your family had to teach you how to fish. You want to learn how to hunt. You want to learn how to, do whatever it is you're interested in, basketball, whatever. It's like, hey, Dad, can you teach me how to shoot a shot? Hey, so-and-so, can you teach me whatever? This generation grows up with this little device that they can YouTube every single answer and get a better answer than you could provide. And so the truth is, like my son, Michael, is a master fisherman. Like he could go fish in any ocean, any lake, anywhere. He knows every single detail. And he just literally sits around and studies how to tie different knots, how to what baits, what poles, what effects with this water. He loves it on YouTube, watches videos left and right. That's an example of what I'm saying. And so what it really means is if I want to lead this generation, if I want to have a positive impact on this generation, I'm not saying you can't lead them and I'm not saying it's not possible, but you have to know your opponent and you have to know who you're leading, right? Just like in sports. So my point is that this is the first generation where I actually have to prove to these people why they need me rather than they have to come to me and already need me to give them answers. They can actually go get the answers somewhere else. So why should I look up to you? Why should I listen to your wisdom? Why should I use you as an example? Like, what is it? What tells me that? And so my point is that you have to prove yourself to them. And that is by your standards and how you handle yourself and how you do things and who are you consistently that person all the time. That's how you lead this younger generation. And that's how these athletes are different. They can actually go get the answers themselves. They've been training way better than you ever trained when you were growing up. So they have all that. But why do they need you? And so how that goes back to my daughter is I decided in that moment, like, you know what? I'm going to study Snapchat's rules, their regulations around stuff. I'm going to embrace it with her. And I'm going to give it to her for a year. We're going to trial basis, but I'm going to do it with you. And I'm going to live this process with you. I have no idea how to work Snapchat, but you know what, honey, me and you're going to do it together. I saw on Snapchat is the one app where we can link our things together. I know everything you do on there and you and I can kind of live this process out together. And so I'm going to show you why I can be of value to you rather than just tell you no. I'm going to help you through this process that you are inevitably going to go down one day. It's the philosophy of I'd rather be sitting right beside you as you go through the ups and downs of this process than to just keep telling you no and then one day say, here's the keys, good luck, honey. I love you enough to pour into it with you. And so my point is that that's what leadership is. It's like, I'm going to pour into this journey with you. So this young generation, that's what they want to see. Are you in it with them? Like you're out for their good and you're going to just pour into it. What does that mean? That means I might just be sitting there beside you every day and you got all the answers and I'll listen to you try to tell me all the answers. And I might know the road you're about to go down and I know you're going to freaking hit this wall so freaking hard. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try to put a pillow in front just for a second. And then once you rub off your bumps and bruises from it, I'm going to say, hey, let me tell you where we could have probably detoured and missed this wall. Let me help you a little bit with that, okay? And I'm going to be right there with you so that you see, as I always tell people, I want to be an all-time friend. I want to be an all-time leader. I want to be an all-time husband, dad, everything in life. I don't want to be a good time one. I'm not here for your successes. I'm not here to just be like, oh, man, I'm here when the moments are high. I want to be an all-time type person to you. So I will be with you right along your journey. And when you need me, I'm going to be here. And it doesn't matter just you and I are this way. It doesn't matter if it's 6 months before we talk again. It doesn't matter if it's 2 years. Like, I'm going to be the same person for you regardless of the time in between. And that's the kind of thing I want to do. So as a leader, if I'm leading this generation and where they're different, that's what I'm aiming for. And that's what I'm looking for, is I want to be somebody they consider me somebody who's going to be an all time in their life, not somebody who's just coming in for the moment to give them this brief ride with them up the, down the roller coaster for the fun. I'm here for all of it.
I love it. So tell me if you agree with this, because I think Pete Carroll again did a great job in this, but the way that I would articulate it is that, and again, I think what you're describing has always been true but now even more in all the ways you just told it. In my mind, a top of the pyramid leader, the way we used to define and think leadership was the person at the top of the pyramid who barks out orders and tells people and uses power and control. And I have more knowledge than you, so I'm here to tell you. And so you need me as dad because I'm the one that's got all the answers. As you just eloquently put, it doesn't operate that way anymore. And I would say that even style, whereas maybe got people to quote unquote follow you, wasn't always the most compelling ever, but yet people have fallen into that trap in leadership of thinking it's about top of the pyramid leadership, power, control. If I have to have all the answers and everybody below me is supposed to just fall into line. What I hear you describing is you flip that pyramid upside down.
Yep.
And it's about that servant leadership mindset that is, I don't have all the answers. I'm here and I'm in relationship with you. And I want to be a part of being a part of a mission that's greater than us. I want to be an all-timer. I want to be in it. And what that's going to require is not me to just bark out orders and try to use power and control to get you to do what I want, but it means I'm going to have to build a relationship with you. And we're going to have a relationship. And I'll have to sit with each other. And there's going to be things that you see that I don't see. And there's going to be things that I see that you don't see. And through coaching and developing and listening and how we then go through that journey together, that becomes more compelling. And so when I look at these across companies and organizations, and I also look across sports, you start to recognize the coaches, the staffs, and the players that have that mentality. And I would say not only in their mind, but in their heart, that's what they think it means to lead, are the ones that seem to be attracting and are more compelling to the people around them. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is. You think of that analogy of like, I look at it like, if you say the mountain or whatever, climbing the mountain, that type of deal, or if it's like somebody sitting at the top of the funnel and it's like, you almost feel like leadership used to be, like, hey, I have to listen to every word they say for me to get up here. And then they, at the end, actually have to reach their hand down and pull me up, for me to get here. So I cannot get there unless I do what they say. And then they also give me a boost at the end. Whereas I think now it's almost like the opposite. It's like you want to be the person who made it down the mountain and you're just there to help everybody else get back down. And if they kind of emulate you, I always say it's you look at coaches that struggle, that I always say this, why do coaches struggle that leave Nick Saban and Bill Belichick? Just in my opinion, because I think that they try to imitate who they are as authoritative leaders. And I always say this, when it comes to Sean McVay, Pete Carroll, I'm just thinking of some of these positive leaders in their way. What are their guys doing? Why are they successful that leave them? They emulate the characteristics of who they are and why they are special, right? Like, I am going to emulate those things, not imitate them. Like, what are the things that make Sean McVay special? If I'm talking to a young group of kids and they say, hey man, who's your idol? I say, you know what? I have to be honest with you. I don't have any. This is the truth. What I looked for in life, what I think was most successful for me in life, was to find the characteristics of the people that I thought were crazy successful at what they did. And is there any part of who they are that I could emulate into who I want to be? Like, I want to be great in big moments. I want to be a big time leader in adversity. I want to develop this skill that they have to do this X, Y, and Z move in football or basketball or whatever it may be. Like, can I adapt that to my game? Can I find 3, 4 or 5 things that this special player had that I watch and I go, man, I love watching this dude play. I love watching him lead. I love watching him compete. What are some of the things characteristically that I could take and add it to who I am? And if I can combine the 25 greatest at everything and find that one thing that they were special at and add it to who I am, what did I just do to myself? Like, that's the way I look at great athletes, great coaches, great leaders. I want to see, is there any part of who they are that I could emulate and really take to adding it as a weapon, a tool to who I want to be and how I want to be successful? Because I believe that every single person is a failure. We all fail. We all make mistakes. There's nobody that's perfect. And so I want to say, hey, me trying to idolize somebody is a problem, but me trying to emulate maybe some of the characteristics that they had that made them really special, that's powerful. And so I think that really people that are built on things that we can emulate is a lot easier and faster way to get to success, because now you're talking about the characteristics that are consistent to the foundational pieces of just being really good at what you do. You know, you think of, like I say this all the time, Sean McVay, when he took the job as the Los Angeles Rams, I knew this guy was going to be crazy special as a leader, not successful as a coach. And my wife will tell you this, you know, people around me, my friends, I'm texting them in the offseason. I just became a Ram. Dude, I don't know if it's going to be while I'm a Ram, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to play. At this time, I was 36 when I signed here in free agency. But this guy will be really successful. Why do I say that? Because the first month of him taking the job as the youngest head coach in NFL history, 30 years old, our OTA meetings in the offseason where we meet, you have 1 hour to meet, and then you have some position meetings. You're only in the building for 4 hours or 6 hours with the rules. So in his 1 to 2 hours of meeting time, we went over teaching guys to take notes and be able to really, anytime they're called upon, know these 4 things, our pillars of who we're going to be, our foundational pillars, our character, our communication skills, our consistency, and our connection. Those 4 things will be the pillars of who we will be as a football team. We're going to study each one of those each week and how they could be successful at who we are. Our communication. Can we verbally and visually communicate at an all elite time in the world level? Are we the best in the world with how we visually show who we are every day to our teammates and people, and how we verbally communicate on and off the football field? Football character. What does that look like? All the intangibles of who we are and how we do things. It doesn't change regardless of situation or circumstance. This is who we are on a daily basis. Are we connected? Do we spend real time together? Do we have a real connection in who we are as people? Do we spend quality time getting to know one another and understand one another, so there can be a vulnerability and a trust that transcends any kind of obstacle we get put in front of? Right? And then consistently, day in and day out, do we show up with the same energy, the same passion to be at our absolute best for one another and live in that world dynamically every single day? Those 4 things. Do we learn those? Can we reiterate them? I can still do it. And I was in the meeting 4 years ago. And that's my point. Like, that was what we built on. Think of a 30-year-old NFL head coach. Like, everyone's sitting there going, dude, why in the world did you get this job? You're too young. And he has the guts to not make it about scheme and being a genius and X's and O's. I always say this, you had to have literally, seriously, some real belief in who you are and what you believe to sit in front of guys who are 6 years older than you and start telling me about character, communication. And this is what we're going to build our whole program off of. Damn right we are. And we're going to be successful because he had a passion and a vision, right? And that's what has become the life, and that's why he's had the success he's had. And to me, that's what it's really built off of, is the vision you have, and then what is it built on? And if I want to be a leader, an elite head coach, I want to be in front of a room and be successful, then I need to know what my pillars are and what am I built on. And then let's move on from there. We can start talking about competitive greatness. We can start talking about how we compete and the X's and O's of how we do things. But first, let's figure out who we are and what we stand for. And then let's move forward.
Dude, you're preaching my language, and this is this is culture shaping 101. This is, he didn't come right in and go right to scheme and like, oh, I'm the most brilliant coach out there and we're going to out trick people. He started with, and again, my listeners know that when we talk about culture shaping, we talk about the process of leading change and the 6 A's of leading change. This you identified a number of them in there, but we have to aspirationally say, who is it that we're trying to be? And then we have to be able to articulate it. The communication side of it is we have to be able to articulate it. That's why language drives behavior. So the 4 pillars that you can rattle off is the language is powerful because it can't just be a poster on the wall. The posters have got to be in our people.
Yeah, Jason, you'll love this. I'll give you an example of what you just said.
Yeah.
So I'm there for about a month and a half. One of the things Sean and I laugh about all the time now is our wives got to be friends. At that time it was his girlfriend, but our wives got to be friends, all this. And we would go on trips together. And I would always talk about, hey, I never spoke to you when we were at work. And he would be like, that's not true. And then we'd have conversations and he'd realize like, oh crap, like you didn't ever talk to me at work. And the point is like, yes, I talked to him at work as in you're my boss. And like you brought up a play and you're asking me my assignment. Yeah, we spoke like that. We never spoke as friends in the facility because I made it a point that I never wanted, even though we were really close and we traveled together and we become best friends, like I never wanted any player to ever feel that other than we're out here competing at our best for each other. And I wanted to keep that dynamic. But because we were close, I knew him and I knew when moments were testy. And I knew when things were going on where I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
Different than being player head coach, I'm going to go check on him this afternoon or I'm going to go stop by his office. So I'll give you an example of what you just said. Articulate, right? So I go in his office about a month and a half after us being together. We've been spending all the time together, when we're not at work and hanging out. I'm getting to know him pretty well. I just felt that day like, all right, I'm going to go check on him a little bit. So I go in his office and he like jumps and it's almost like he's watching something he shouldn't be watching on his screen or he's like doing something he shouldn't be doing. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, he shows me the screen and he's watching our team meetings. And I'm going, wow, okay, so you're watching our team meetings. Like, why do you do that? He goes, well, I video and record every single meeting because I go back across our coaches and mainly myself. And I want to evaluate my ability to, maybe I have great intentions, but what's my ability to communicate a clear message every single day of why these things are important? And am I saying them in a way where my belief and what I'm communicating you guys comes across? My, knowledge of what I'm talking about is in a way. And if it's not, then I will tomorrow, that will be my utmost importance is that I will be prepared to deliver it in a clear, more passionate way to where my message is clear every single day. And then as coaches, if we're installing something, if we're holding a meeting, the way in which we communicate, the way in which we install and articulate what is important to us as a team, it matters. And I want to know how it's articulated. And so I just thought for me, I was blown away by that because to me, there's a humbleness in that I'm not perfect. And I know I'm not going to give the best message every day, but I'm going to evaluate and I'm going to say, all right, this is where I could have improved this. This is what could have been better. What came out of my mouth and the way I said it. I thought that was just the wisdom he had for a 30-year-old. Was really, really, really special. And I was blown away by the day because I thought it was a really cool thing. And I'll put it to you this way, because I've been with Nick Saban and Sean McVay, two guys that I consider some of the best coaches of all time. Like I always say this, if Sean McVay coaches long enough, he will be one of those all-time coaches in history. And he's already broken records. But Nick Saban, obviously, one of the best coaches ever. I would say that Nick Saban lives in a world where his leadership style and his authoritative style of coaching is I will hold everyone to such an extreme accountability level that it may be uncomfortable at times, but what you will learn to appreciate is the sense of urgency to do one's job at the highest level possible day in and day out. And that may wear some people out and they can't live in that environment and they don't thrive in it and it's a struggle, right? Yep. But I will probably hold the coaches around you. I will hold the administrators. I will hold every person that's in the building to such a high standard. They will be miserable at times. And I will always make it like, hey, you as a player could come to me with anything and I will hold everyone around you accountable. Like if I mess up on a play, my offensive line coach, he's the one getting destroyed, not me, because Nick would make sure that it was always understood it was his job. He'd always say this phrase, you either coach it or you allow it, all the time. And so that was his constant message to the team. You coach it or you allow it in life and football and everything, okay? Which I think is true. But he would pound it into the people around you to make them give you their stress and anxiety and everything else to you to do your job. That was the nature of it, okay? Sean McVay lives in a world, we flip it upside down.
Yep.
I will hold myself accountable. I will passionately serve and communicate a message of who I am trying to aspire to be in life every day at the most consistent way possible, that hopefully it inspires you to do the exact same thing. And I'm going to give you a clear vision of what I see you being able to do, a clear vision of what I think you're capable of, and a clear vision of why I don't think you should ever feel fear failing, because this is the key. That's like, you never fear failure. You always fear regret. Like, you give everything you have to everything you do. And I'm going to give you a clear vision for how we get there. And I'm going to live it right alongside you. And you're going to want to run through every wall with me. You're going to want to be with me in every journey that we passionately pursue together. And that was kind of more his leadership style. So I still think both all-time coaches, as they're both going to be,
no doubt,
two totally different styles. And I can appreciate both. I can appreciate where in life there's a need for that accountability level to be at this all-time high all the time. And then I can also appreciate where there's a life where, hey, man, if you just really take some of these things and emulate what these things are about and what they do for you at really your best effort, we're gonna get to where we want to go, and we're gonna get there in a really cool way. Like, you're in Sean McVay's building, there's no cussing, there's no screaming at each other, there's none of that type stuff, right? Nick Saban's building, totally opposite. But like I said, it doesn't mean one's better than the other. It doesn't mean that I disagree with one or the other. I just have a real appreciation that Sean decided to pick his own path and his own way to do it, different than maybe guys had led, in years prior.
I think that's powerful what you just said in that example. And what I would say is that the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place. And that story of him watching film of himself and other staff members and watching, did we communicate the message that we really were trying to communicate, or did I communicate something in the illusion? It's an illusion that I didn't communicate it with the belief and the passion and clearly enough that we're going to be able to execute on it. And absolutely,
hey, Jason, a great example of that. All right, I got 4 kids. At one time, I had 4, 3 and under. All right, this is my example of that. Yeah. Wife, I come home from working all day. She's got 4 kids, 3 and under. She's just, trying not to drown, right? And I walk in and go, hey, babe, I just looked in the fridge. We're out of cheese, right? What does she hear from that communication? You're a bad mother. And that's what she says. Well, so I'm a bad wife? I'm a bad mother? I'm like, no, wait. No, I just said, I was making a sandwich. There's no cheese in the fridge. So I'm not doing my job. I'm like, wait, no, that's not what I said, right? And so my point is that sometimes how we think we communicate is not how we communicate.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, maybe that understanding people's situation, understanding what people are going through, like, hey, you say, oh man, I'm going to hold people accountable. Well, what does that look like? That may look different than what you think it is. That doesn't mean you walk in this authoritative way and scream at people. It doesn't mean you walk in and say, hey, this should be done this way. There may be a way that you paint a picture of appreciation for that person and appreciation for how hard they're working. And then also say, hey, you know what? I saw we're out of this. Like, would you like me to grab some of this tomorrow when I'm on my way home? Or, hey, would you like me to help out with some of these type things because I know you're busy with this? Like, there's a way to have accountability that doesn't look like yelling and screaming and being authoritative. And that's my point, is that I always look at it like I wanted to be the kind of leader that every single dude said, you know who I know is going to be right beside me running through the wall with me? It's Big Whit. Like, he'll be right there with me. Doesn't mean they're going to be walking behind me. I don't want to say, hey, man, you guys better get behind me and do what I say. No. I want to lead in a way where everybody feels like we don't know who's going to hit the wall first, but we're all running at it. And whichever one of us gets there faster, we're all coming through at the same time. And so that's the kind of style I always wanted to encourage to be. And I think that a lot of our relationships in life can be the same way. Like, it's not about me being right. It's not about me holding you accountable. It's about living in that space with them in a world where, what's our team goal? Like I always say to my wife when we have these discussions and it gets heated or something, I'm always like, what's the ultimate goal? Oh, we want to raise our kids with a standard. Oh, shoot. Well, heck, let's drop arguing with each other about it. Like, well, how do we get that accomplished? Let's do that. Let's focus on what the task is.
How we communicate sets a temperature. And so are we coming at it with this? And the other piece about the McVay thing, which I think is a lot of the teams and organizations that I'm currently speaking with, and there are a couple of topics that continue to rise to the surface today in today's world. One is around this idea of accountability. And what I'm often talking to teams and organizations about is we need to reframe what we mean by accountability, because accountability isn't a one-way street. It's not that I'm going to just hold you accountable. And so it's this one way, and it's this negative connotation. It's not you just holding your wife accountable because we didn't have something in the refrigerator. It's about reciprocal accountability.
Yep.
That's the we're walking beside each other, and we are both more accountable to each other than we are less accountable to each other. And
we got to set standards and we got to maintain standards, right? Like that's us. That's not that's not he, she, I, that person. It's we have to maintain standards and we have to set them. And I said this a couple of weeks ago with, Tua had this interview a few weeks ago where he was talking about how they respond after getting beat after week one. And I didn't love it, because I think Tua's a great young man, but I didn't love the way he articulated, I hope they are in the building working as hard as I saw some of the guys working last week. I hope to see that guys are as committed as they were last week. And for me, that's like crazy, because it's we have the same standard regardless whether we won or lost on Sunday. Like on Tuesday, how we go to work and how we do things is who we are. And that's what identifies. You want to know who our Miami Dolphin team is? It is identified by the way we work each and every day, regardless of win or loss. Like when guys ask me, what's your regimen during the season? Well, let me explain to you first. My regimen didn't change from Monday morning to Sunday night, regardless of anything that happened. Hurt, injured, win, loss, none of those things, because every single one of those things was fine-tuned over my 16-year career to get the absolute best performance out of me. And not every one of those included work. Some of those included spend some time with the family. Some of those included have a date night with the wife. Like some of those included have some peaceful time, like do some yoga, get some meditation in, like what are those quiet time moments during the week? Like they included all these things, but over the years I perfected what is the best way for me to be my absolute best, the most consistently all the time. And that is who we are and how we do things on a daily basis, regardless of situation and circumstance. And that's how I always felt you had to lead and be present if you wanted to be that guy.
That's that work-life rhythm, not work-life balance stuff you and I were just texting about. That's the rhythm. How do we be at our best when our best is needed? Buddy, I could do this all day with you, but I know
it all week. Can anybody stay on a podcast for a week? I don't know. We could possibly.
We could just keep going, but I know we got stuff. And buddy, you're everywhere. You're in every TV commercial. You're on TV all the time. So I got to get you going. But buddy, I so appreciate any opportunity that I get for us to sit down and just do this. I already look forward to the next time that we can connect in this way. We both are wired this way, that it is about the relationship and how we show up to do what we do. And I really appreciate you being here today and sharing your mind, but more importantly, your heart with the audience.
I appreciate it, Jason. I appreciate you too, man. Your passion for this and giving people the opportunity to maybe hear it in a different way, or just to really have an understanding of maybe where their thoughts and their actions can align and achieving those goals, right? And so I think being able to help people find what their vision is for where they want to go and what they want to do is so cool, man. And I just love that you have a passion for it. And I've always appreciated that about you. So thanks for the opportunity to be here. And it was an honor.
Thanks, buddy. Look forward to the next time we get a chance to chat. I hope the listeners out there, I hope you guys love that as much as I did. I'm going to be thinking about a lot coming out of this conversation, but who is it that we're trying to be? That fundamental question. And then can we have language to help describe it? And then what does that language look like in action and behavior? What are those standards that we want to hold ourselves to, and what is this kind of reciprocal accountability of us standing next to each other? Not behind, but next to each other, and being able to set a temperature that hopefully when we walk into a room, we give people our attention, and where we look is where we go. So what is it we're trying to create, and how do we want to make people feel like they are a part of this, that they're valued, and how do we see people as that from the very beginning? So this has been a powerful conversation. I hope it got you thinking in some good ways. Again, I hope it breathes good oxygen into you, and I hope it helps you think about that temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. I hope you'll check the show notes below. We'll have a bunch of stuff in the show notes if you're interested in all the stuff that Big Wit's into. We'll put put some links and stuff so that you can track him down. All you got to do is turn on the TV and you're going to see him. But thanks to Big Wit again, and thanks for everybody. Remember, the future of leadership is you, is me, is us. And we have a chance to set the temperature for the people around us every single day, and that shapes the culture, sets a temperature for the people around us. So step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.